While applying to universities, my family's financial struggles limited my options. Fortunately, as an APIA McDonald scholar, I was able to attend my dream school, and now my options feel unlimited.
APIA 맥도날드 자사생이 되는 길을 apanext.com에서 알아보세요.
My name is Jenny. We are going to get started on our seminar shortly. So let's get started with the key early admissions trends before I dive in. So the first thing is early application deadlines offer clear advantages, and I will walk through that process as well. We've also noticed that teacher recommendations and extracurricular activities have weighed much heavier than they have in previous years. So with a lot of different changes in college admissions and what college admissions are starting to look for, we've noticed that they have weighed the teacher recommendations and the extracurricular activities much heavier than they have in the past. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then the SAT, ACT test scores are still valuable. I did want to mention this as well because I know because of COVID, a lot of colleges have created test optional policies, or they've removed their tests, SAT, ACT requirements completely. But the trend says otherwise. Now that COVID has gotten better and society has gotten a lot more normal, the trend says otherwise in terms of tests. And so we'll talk about that. And then the last one that we'll be discussing is essays. We've also seen a trend in the way that students depict themselves on their essays, how they need to portray who they are and what they need to say in those essays to make them stand out. Essays have also proven to be one of the more pivotal factors in college admissions, and I will be diving into that as well. So let's start with the first trend here. Trend number one, early application deadlines offer clear advantages. So strategy-wise, obviously you need to prepare early. If you think about the October 15th to November 15th deadlines for early applications, that means that you are applying before the end of your first semester of your senior year. So basically what goes into the application is only up until the junior year summer. So the summer after your junior year and the couple of months that you have before you apply for that October 15th to November 15th deadline. So those students that, want to take advantage of these strategies and want to do early admissions, you have to start earlier. You have to prepare, in eighth grade summer, ninth grade, all the way until your junior year summer, because it is absolutely detrimental to you if you don't have that prepared and you're planning on applying for the October 15th to the November 15th deadlines. So just something to mention is that because you know that you are going to not have your first semester of your senior year in your application, it's really important to understand that you have to do well academically and extracurricularly earlier on, so you have more to put on your application because you'll be missing that first semester of your senior year. And then in order to do that, you do want to choose your major direction before 10th grade. So if you are planning on, applying for those early deadlines, you need to know some sort of direction before 10th grade. And honestly, the earlier you know, the longer you have to prepare your resume, your activities, your course selection, and all of those things. And that's really important too. So while regular admission applicants can maybe have their major selected maybe by 10th grade, second semester, if you are planning on applying early, you do want to have that prepared before 10th grade so that you know what courses you can take, what extracurriculars you need to do, what you need to do over the summer. All of that is very dependent on your major direction and the strategy major direction that you choose. And then of course you want to build impactful extracurriculars in 9th and 10th grades. As I mentioned, because your first semester of your senior year does not get included in those early deadlines, you want to make sure you start that impact and you start those extracurriculars at an earlier time so that you have more to put on your applications and a better direction for your essays as well. Okay, teacher recommendations and extracurriculars. So I just want to start with teacher recommendation letters. About 3 to 4 years ago, and honestly, even in seminars that I did last year, like 2024, I talked about the weight of teacher recommendations being important. But now looking at the results of our students and the students that did get admitted to really amazing schools, like we had a ton of Stanford admittance this year. We had a lot of Harvard admittance this year. And looking at those students specifically, we recognize that teacher recs have now made up about 10 to 15% of the weight of an overall application. The relationships that you have with your teachers need to be continuous, right? And in terms of a trend for extracurriculars, in the past, leadership positions were considered to be important. So if you had a lot of leadership positions, that showed that you were, a good extracurricular and you made an impact. But now what we've seen in the past couple of years is that the impact you have as a leader in your activities is the most important. So if we're going to dive into strategy a little bit, for teacher recommendations, I tell students to start building those relationships early, right? Students feel very uncomfortable talking to teachers about other things outside of, their academics. They don't like talking to teachers. They don't like saying like, how was your weekend? Or how was your day? Or what did you do last weekend? Or what did you do over winter break? Students have a really hard time having conversations with their teachers, but that skill set is so important. And then in regards to extracurriculars, as I mentioned earlier, you want to choose a major strategy before 10th grade. So I would say by the summer before your 9th grade or by the end of your 9th grade, you do want to have some sort of direction for what you want to study. Impact matters. And I did write the larger the impact, the better. I actually did a seminar before on just extracurriculars because it's such a deep and big part of your application. But there's levels of impact, right? There's school impact, there's local impact, which is like your city or your community. And then there's like national or like statewide impact, there's national impact and international impact, right? So the larger the impact, of course, the better. But if you're not making international impact or national impact, which very little students do, even the local impact or the school impact is very valuable. You want to consider academic awards. Academic awards are important. And I usually tell parents this all the time, right? You want to start having an idea of your academic awards. It doesn't mean that you have to join like Science Olympiad or, speech and debate all the time. There's many ways to get academic awards, including essay competitions, art competitions, where you do have to write some sort of essay. You can take tests like the biology Olympiad or the computer science Olympiad. So there's a lot of other things that you can do to get academic awards. You can do well on your PSAT and get national merit. You can do well on your AP exams and get AP Scholar awards, right? A lot of different ways, but you want to start planning that as well. And then lastly, one of the things that we really, really try to do with all of our students is to have some sort of uniqueness factor, some sort of talent, some sort of color, something that's going to help them stand out. The reality is you are applying to colleges where there are students at your high school that are also applying to the same colleges as you are. And the reality is you are competing directly in competition with students at your high school, right? Because your high school students at your high school take the same classes or similar classes. They have similar extracurriculars. So what is it that makes you different at your school is something that's really important.
As the daughter of immigrants, financial struggles were part of my everyday reality. In high school, I became homeless and had to live in a women's shelter. Thankfully, being an APIA McDonald Scholar enabled me to attend college and begin a new chapter in my life. And now, my reality is filled with endless possibilities.
맥도날드는 학생들을 지원하기 위해 APIA 스콜러스를 통해 약 400만 불을 수여했습니다. 자세한 내용은 apanext.com을 참조하세요.
Okay, let's talk about the SAT, ACT. If I can just tell you the trend that we've seen in this early, and when we're looking through all the data of students that were admitted nationwide and internationally, what we found was that 95% of students who were admitted to top tier test optional colleges submitted an SAT or ACT score that was in the 75th percentile or above. And so you want to start preparing early because it will open up the summers for you. A lot of times students prepare for the SAT or ACT over the summer, right? And so if you do like a summer boot camp or something in the SAT or ACT, that summer is gone. If I can summarize with the SAT and ACT, I would say the trend is that students are submitting, unfortunately, the SAT and ACT, SAT or ACT, and they are submitting, high scores. So you do want to prepare even for test optional colleges. We do have students that have gotten admitted with test optional. I had a student that got accepted to WashU St. Louis for their accelerated pharma or their pre-pharmacy program, and they didn't submit an SAT score. So it is possible. I'm not saying that you have to have it, but the trend is that more and more students are, submitting it, and they're submitting higher scores. So preparing for that is going to be important, and it is going to be helpful for your application. If you do not have the SAT or ACT, like you're like, Jenny, I'm really bad at the SAT. I'm really bad at the standardized testing. I don't think I could submit a good score. So if you are a student that's like that, then you need to make sure, A, you have really strong GPA, B, you have really good AP test scores, and C, that your extracurriculars stand out. Okay, trend number 4 are the essays. So essays are important because they provide a very holistic understanding of the student. What we've seen in terms of trend is that students who write a more unique narrative that connects their essay to their major and their extracurriculars, and it provides a very whole picture of the student, normally does better in college admission. So if I'm going to go into strategy a little bit, one of the things I recommend my students to do is to think about that story early. What is your life story? What is, what makes you who you are? Use a reflection journal. You can write down ideas, now, right? Like I tell students every week, spend 5-10 minutes reflecting on your week, what you learned, how you grew, writing on a journal, because those ideas can help you tremendously for college applications as well. Don't just highlight achievements, right? You don't want to just talk about, I won this award and I'm this really amazing person and I'm the best on my team, right? You want to talk about what you learned and how those achievements have shaped you, right? It's not just the achievements, but it's the journey of getting to those achievements that's really important. Think about your college list and understand how you fit into that college and what you'll bring to the college. This is really important. Colleges want students who will actively bring something to their university. So if we're going to kind of summarize these trends, right, there is this shift towards a more personalized application review. So every college is taking each application as a more personalized approach. They are having a holistic review process. So admissions committees are considering every single aspect of the applicant's profile, from your socioeconomic status to your environment, to your parents' college level, to your level of income and financial need, all the way to your GPA, your academics, your extracurriculars, your essays, and teacher recommendations. They are looking at things a lot more holistically than they have in the past. There is an emphasis on unique experiences and passions. This is really, really important. Your individuality, your contributions to your community, those are things that will make you stand out, and that's what you want to showcase in your application. And of course, I mentioned this earlier, but having strong essays and recommendations are incredibly important. The essays and recommendations are one space that you can talk about yourself pretty freely, right? Essays particularly is not just a list of accomplishments, right? It's something personal. And recommendations are the one space where there is something unbiased, right? Your essays are kind of biased because you're writing it, your extracurricular activities, you did it, right? So those are all things that you did. But the teacher recommendations is that wild card, right? It's that one aspect of your application that you don't have total control over. These components really play a vital role in highlighting your strengths, who you are as a student and a person as well. So if I'm going to talk about just a couple of next steps, number one, I would say plan early. The earlier that you plan, the better you'll be prepared for college applications, college essays, teacher recommendations. It's all about preparation and planning early. You want to build a strong profile. This is something that you need to also start fairly early. And then lastly, seek guidance. 1 in 3 high school students in the United States have a college consultant. They have someone that's helping them through their high school journey. They have someone who's helping them through the process of understanding what they need to do and strategizing with them every step of the way. Okay, I hope that answers everyone's questions. Thank you all for joining. So hopefully you had all of those questions answered and that this helped you with your strategic planning. I hope you all enjoy a wonderful weekend and I hope we see you soon. Bye, everyone.